Have you ever looked at Deadpool, then looked at Deathstroke, and think to yourself, how the hell did Marvel get away with that? I mean, there's a lot of examples of Marvel and DC stealing ideas from each other, but Deadpool and Deathstroke, it's just so obvious. You start asking yourself, how did DC not sue them for this? What lawyer did Marvel hire to get out of that? It had to be J-Homo or something. Deadpool is so popular, some people think that he's the actual original, and Deathstroke, his DC double, is the copycat. So what's the full story behind this? How did Marvel steal Deadpool and then make him more loved than the original? Deadpool and Deathstroke is kind of like if Marvel asked to copy DC's homework, and DC said, yeah, just don't make it obvious. Now I know there's someone who's about to enter the comments and be like, well, actually, Deadpool and Deathstroke are quite different characters, and shut the fuck up. Shut up. Fucking nerd. God damn. The creator of Deadpool, a guy called Rob Liefeld, frequently denies any similarities with Deathstroke. Like any. Newsflash, the guy lies. Liefeld lies a lot. It's in the name. By the way, Rob Liefeld is actually going to be a huge part of this story, so make sure you remember that name. Let's look at the similarities. Deadpool has a death-themed codename. Deathstroke has a death-themed codename. Deadpool is a mercenary and assassin for hire. Deathstroke is a mercenary and assassin for hire. He has a healing factor, so does Deathstroke. Deadpool gained his abilities from a super soldier program. Deathstroke. And you won't guess how he actually gained his superpowers. Well, from a super soldier program. They both wear tactical suits with a full face mask. Deadpool's costume is red and black. Deathstroke's costume is orange and black. Both are really good with hand-to-hand combat, use swords a lot, and guns, and a lot of patches. Rob Liefeld loves his patches. Deadpool's first appearance is a comic called The New Mutants, number 98 from 1991. Deathstroke's first appearance is a comic called The New Teen Titans, number 2, in December 1980. New Mutants, New Teen Titans, come on. But, the name, look at the real name. Deadpool's real name is Wade Wilson. Deathstroke's real name is Slade Wilson. It doesn't get more obvious, come on! So who's the clone and who's the original? Deathstroke was created in the 80s and Deadpool was created in the 90s. So clearly here it was Marvel who stole from DC. But how did that happen? Well, we're just going to have to borrow the time machine from my first video on this channel and go back to when it all started. Setting the destination to the early 1980s.
Sexual relations with that woman.
It's the early 1980s. Two creative masterminds at DC Comics called Marv Wolfman and George Perez decide to come together and create a new villain for the Teen Titans. Enter Deathstroke, the Terminator, who burst onto the scene in the New Teen Titans issue number 2 in December 1980. Meet Slade Wilson. Slade was your average everyday soldier until he signed up for a secret experiment. He's basically Captain America's cooler, slightly more evil cousin. Although I think that would be Soldier Boy technically. Anyways, after the experiment, Slade becomes Deathstroke, the most feared mercenary for hire in the DC universe. He got enhanced abilities such as increased strength, speed, reflexes, and a healing factor. Not as strong as Deadpool's, but still a healing factor. Need someone dead? He's your guy. Deathstroke was such a hit with the fans that DC said, give this man his own series. So in 1991, Deathstroke the Terminator hit the shelves. His series was so popular, it ran for 65 issues and it changed names more often than a chameleon at a paint store. First it was Deathstroke the Terminator, then Deathstroke the Hunted, and finally just Deathstroke, kind of like how Puff Daddy became P. Diddy, and then P. Diddy just Diddy, and now Diddy just means
you are gay.
Speaking of names, even though Deathstroke was created around 4 years before Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Terminator hit the theaters, they eventually dropped the Terminator part of Deathstroke's name for two good reasons. Reason number one is obvious. I mean, why would DC want to get into beef with a time-traveling ChatGPT Rambo hybrid from the future?
I am a machine.
Reason number 2 is basically DC didn't want people to confuse the two characters or think that they were copying the Terminator, even though Deathstroke came first and he was technically the Terminator before the Terminator was the Terminator. This isn't the last time our boy Deathstroke gets outshined by a popular character that comes after him, but it was definitely like foreshadowing what would happen to him. Over the years, Deathstroke has become one of DC's top dogs. Our boy's been in more storylines than Drake has been in underage girls' DMs. Although, quick side note, there was this one storyline where Deathstroke was, let's just say he was doing some things that would have probably gotten him invited to Epstein's Island, but that's a whole video on its own though. Despite that one weird storyline which we're gonna pretend didn't happen, Deathstroke has ended up having a huge impact on DC and the comic book industry as a whole. He's been in multiple DC animations, he was in the Batman Arkham games, he was live action Arrow show on CW. But even with all that representation, he still doesn't come close to the popularity of his own clone, his own copycat, Deadpool. Let's hop back to the 90s when grunge was king and comics were going through their edgy teen phase. Deadpool was created by two guys. One guy was called Fabian Nicieza, and the second guy is called Rob Liefeld. You remember the person I mentioned earlier would be important? Yeah, this is him. They came together and decided, you know what, the comic book world needs a new anti-hero. And thus, Deadpool was born. He made his first appearance in a comic called The New Mutants, issue number 98, around February 1991. Now, Rob Liefeld, the artist, designed Deadpool and gave him his name, but that's about where his contributions pretty much hit the bricks. Like, he gets a lot more credit beyond this for creating the character than he probably deserves. Liefeld is easily the most controversial creator in the comic book world. Like, just mentioning his name and you'll get a lot of side eyes. I'm not even joking. But why so much hate? Why don't people like him?
What did he do to make them niggas that mad?
Liefeld has always insisted that Deadpool isn't a Deathstroke clone. He's always like, no, Deadpool's personality is completely different. He always frequently argues and denies with any kind of connection between the two characters. Probably blocks a lot of people on Twitter. He's famous for blocking people on Twitter. In fact, if he's blocked you on Twitter, you should probably drop that in the comments. But I don't think anyone is really buying the fact that there's no connection between a super soldier mercenary with a healing factor called Wade Wilson and a super soldier mercenary with a healing factor called Slade Wilson. Like, imagine being the guy who created Deathstroke at DC and seeing Deadpool for the first time. Yo, did you see that new character over at Marvel that Rob Liefeld made? No, I did not. You have to be a bit more specific. What's he called? Oh, he's called Deadpool. I'm sorry, what? Deadpool. Why? What's wrong? Oh, nothing. Just... I guess it kind of sounded like Deathstroke, you know, because I made Deathstroke, Deadpool, similar names, but it's not a big deal. What are his powers, though? Oh, Deadpool is like a mercenary with enhanced abilities and like a healing factor. That's funny. Deathstroke is a mercenary with enhanced abilities and a healing factor. It's probably a coincidence. So what does he look like? Oh, he has like a red and black suit with guns and swords and a full face mask. Nah, you're trolling me at this point. I know, April Fools. It's cool. It's a joke. No, I'm being serious. Look, this is Deadpool. This is how he looks. Oh, that's crazy. Because when I designed Deathstroke, he had an orange and black suit with a full face mask. Yeah, I kind of see it, but I think Deadpool is like way cooler. Personal taste, I guess. Hey, bro, did you see the new Deadpool character over at Marvel? Bro, it's like way cooler than Deathstroke, man. Oh yeah, for sure. Are you okay, bro? No, I'm okay. I'm fine. What's his secret identity? Come again? What is his secret identity? You know what, bro? Just forget I brought any of this up. It's okay. It's fine.
Then what is his secret identity?
Okay. He's called Wade Wilson. Now, I know that sounds like Slade Wilson. You know what? I would give him the benefit of doubt, you know? Even beyond the names and the weird similarities, I would believe him. I really would believe Rob Liefeld. You see, Liefeld was a part of the founding team members of Image Comics, the company that published Spawn, The Walking Dead, and even Image was created as a middle finger to the big two companies, but specifically Marvel. It was just a group of like top tier level professional famous comic creators who came together to publish independently and then break the monopoly Marvel and DC had over comics. And Rob Liefeld was one of those top people who was invited on board. He did run a Kickstarter for a comic. It was called Brigade Returns, and he raised around $35,000 to make the comic book. He ended up not delivering on the comic at all and just kept the money and went quiet. Like, it's been 10 years and there's still people who up to today haven't received the comic and they just gave him free money. Like, there's just a lot of things where he's just done that really piss people off. Now, this video isn't meant to be like a Rob Liefeld hate train. I really don't care for that, to be honest. We do have to give the guy credit for creating the actual character of Deadpool. At least he created the design for the character. And although he's not been able to historically take like criticism well, for example, whenever people would critique his art, he has come around to it. One of the biggest critiques that people usually throw at him is that he loves to make pouches on each one of his character designs. But like, at least he eventually finally stopped getting so defensive about it and leaned into the joke. And he created a character called The Pouch, who was literally just made up of pouches. To some extent, he's showing some growth. But, you know, the scamming part, the scamming his fans, probably one of the reasons why a lot of people will always forever hate him. But like I said, this isn't for the hate. This is actually more to talk about who really helped create Deadpool, the character we know today. Deadpool, to Liefeld's defense, is not like 100% of a ripoff. Deadpool is different from Deathstroke. He cracks jokes. He breaks the fourth wall. He knows he's a comic book character. He's just an overall crazy character. But guess what? Liefeld isn't the one who created those awesome traits. Someone else did. The one man who should get more credit for helping create Deadpool to become as popular as he is today is Joe Kelly. Now, Joe Kelly is a pretty underrated comic book writer, penciler, and editor, and he's written for multiple different titles, including Deadpool, Uncanny X-Men, Action Comics, and JLA. He's also, unironically, one of the people behind Man of Action Studios, you know, the creators of Ben 10. Like, nobody talks about Joe Kelly as much as they need to, but I'm willing to bet he's actually made up a lot of our childhoods behind the scenes. After Marvel let Joe Kelly get his hands on the Deadpool property and start writing for his comics, he basically transformed Deadpool from a generic villain who was basically a Deathstroke clone with no personality into this wisecracking, fourth wall breaking anti-hero / superhero that we all love. Joe Kelly's biggest contributions to the actual character of Deadpool were the fourth wall breaking, like, you know that thing where Deadpool is aware he's not real, where he just like talks to the audience, makes jokes about the writers, the plot, and even the readers.
Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
Yeah, you can thank Joe Kelly for that. He gave him more of a depth and like character and showing like us different sides of Deadpool, you know. He created the supporting cast. He introduced Blind Al and Weasel and just creating more of the stuff we see in modern Deadpool today. And he also basically gave Deadpool his cult status, like his run mixed with dark humor and the pop culture references.
Huh. All Rudd finally aged.
That's what helped develop Deadpool's loyal fan base, and that's what actually pushed Marvel to eventually make the movie. Well, that and Ryan Reynolds, because Ryan Reynolds was a Deadpool fan before it was cool to be a Deadpool fan. Even though Liefeld loves to take all the credit for it, Joe Kelly is the one who made Deadpool the chimichanga-loving, fourth wall-breaking anti-hero we know today. Now, Rob Liefeld might have dug the hole, but Joe Kelly, he filled it up.
What do you mean by that?
Wait. Pause. You're probably asking yourself one last question. Why the hell didn't DC sue? Like, this was so blatant. Now, DC didn't sue for three main reasons. One, you can always get away with the parody defense. As long as you say, this is a parody, it's not supposed to be an exact copy, then you can get away with it because that's just how the law works when it comes to copyright. Two, Deadpool and Deathstroke did have different characterization. Again, Deathstroke is like way more serious and his personality is way more different from Deadpool, who's more of like a goofy, silly, funny character, you know, who kills people. And three, the industry norms, because let's face it, Marvel and DC have been peeking over each other's shoulders like for ages. They've been swiping ideas like trading cards. DC knows if they start trying to sue Marvel, they're not gonna get away with it because at the end of the day, it's not like they haven't stolen from Marvel either. I'm looking at you, Aquaman. Yes, Aquaman was actually stolen. The idea was stolen from Marvel. Namor, aka the Submariner from the Black Panther movie. Yeah, he was the original Aquaman. And Marvel made him first. And then DC was like, we like that idea. Communism. Also, for whatever reason, a lot of comic book fans are just okay with it. Like in general, like a lot of comic book fans aren't too picky about the companies and like stealing from each other. Especially like superhero comics. It's like people want to see the same superhero in like different stories. Which is why even though Omni-Man is very clearly like Superman, or even Homelander is like Superman but evil, they can still get their own fan bases because it's much more okay when it comes to comics for borrowing ideas for whatever reason. Here on this actual channel, I do talk about my own comic books and my own characters sometimes, and people are always comparing them to characters they love, and they end up subscribing and checking out my work because they're like, yo, this guy looks like Kamen Rider, which I keep getting in the comments, or this guy looks like Scorpion or whatever. My early designs actually looked pretty similar to Deadpool, but that's just because in general in art you're gonna get ideas from somewhere and you're going to get inspiration from somewhere. Like again, One Punch Man, One Pan Man, you know, Thanos, Darkseid, Red Tornado, Vision. If you're a comic book creator or any kind of creator, there's nothing wrong with getting inspiration from other places, but it's always like just a good idea to at least acknowledge it. Like I will never deny the fact that I have also gotten inspiration from like Marvel characters and DC characters. Like I literally made a whole video. My last video was about how I got inspiration. But going about it the Rob Liefeld way and like not giving credit to anyone but yourself isn't exactly gonna make you friends in the long run. Just be honest about where your inspiration comes from. Be open about it. In fact, you'd rather be open about it and just be like, yes, I got inspiration from them. Like I did with the whole Spider-Man Blue Beetle thing when I told you guys that's where I got my inspiration from in the last video. Hey, if this is your first time on this channel, make sure to stalk me a bit, watch some other videos I made. And if this isn't your first time, make sure to join me and the other people over on Patreon, and we can just get more into deeper discussions there, and you guys can also watch me create my own comic book characters and universe.